Well, hello and welcome back. We are continuing our season where we're looking at SQL stuff. Working our way through all kinds of cool little SQL things. This episode, we're continuing, focused on MySQL and MariaDB mostly. And we're looking at store procedures, sort of the month of store procedures. And this episode, we're going to look at a couple different things. We're going to review, basically go back to parameters. Before we had in parameters, we're going to look at in, out, and InOut parameters. And then we're going to take a look at some logical stuff, such as if statements and things of that nature. So that being said, I want to start with a little store procedure here. And we're going to do this thing called multiplier. Let me see if I can blow this guy up. Can I do that? Okay, so we'll go back to here. So what we're doing in this one is it's just like we've done before. So it's create or replace procedure, and it's going to be called multipliers. This is a new one. We've got three variables. We've got we've got x, which is an in, it's coming in, and it's an integer. We've got y, which is an out, and it's an integer. And we have z, which is an in-out, which is an integer. So we've got three integers coming in. And what we're going to do with them is we're going to select x times z into the y variable, and x times x into the z variable. Now, first, let me talk a little about in, out, and InOut. So in variables are values that are going to come in. We will not pass them out. So you could do like a call myproc, and you could give it a number, which we've done before, like 1, if it's an in variable. If it's an out, and I do that, it's going to give me an error because it needs to be able to send it back out into something. And it's, if it's out, it's a variable. It's basically an empty variable. It ignores what's sent in. And then if it's in out, it can utilize what comes in, but it also will rewrite it. So it has to be a variable. I'll show you what that looks like as we go through these a little bit. So right now we're just doing a call multiplier, and we've got three values. So let's just do 2 times 4 times 6, and let's see what it tells me. Now in this case, here we go, out or InOut argument 2 is not a variable. So argument 2 has to be a variable. So we're going to do set at first equals 4. And then we're going to do at first and see what it does. And so now we sent a variable in, but now the second one, it's complaining about that because out and InOut both have to be a variable. So the second is going to be, we're just going to call it second. Well, we're going to set it to 6. And now when we call it, at first, at second, boom, it works. So since we didn't display anything, we needed to take a look at these. So now what we can do is we can look at first, which is the y parameter. And we can see what is its value now. Oops, I have to put semicolon. It's 12, which is 2 times 6 is 12. And then if we do second, it should be x squared, so 4, right? Yep, and it's 4. So it's pretty easy to set up our variables that way. We just have to remember if they are, if we're trying to keep it simple, then you want them all ends, and then you're just going to have one value maybe that comes out. But you may have a bunch of things along the way that you're having to work with, maybe row counts and stuff like that. And particularly, you may want to overwrite some of that stuff and pass it back through those. Typically, InOuts are very confusing for people to work with, particularly as the people that are calling those procedures. So it's better to do one or the other. But that can sometimes be that can get you some very long signatures that you may not want to do. But there are definitely common uses for such things. For example, if we want to insert a record, then maybe we want to insert, we give it the values that we want to insert, but we have an out variable that is the new record ID, something along those lines. Or it could be a pass fail or a confirmation value or something like that. There's a lot of different things we can do. So Those are in and out variables. Next one I want to look at is, let me just take this whole, well, let me do it like this. I'm going to take that whole thing because I'm going to throw it into our notes, and then I'll clean it up later. 1 second while I do this. Okay, so I've got that for now. Another thing I want to do, I want to look at an if-then-else. So let's go build an if-then-else real quick. So let's do, and let's keep this simple. So I'm going to say, I'm going to keep this really simple. So I'm going to do in name is a varchar 20. Ooh, let's do this. And in gender is varchar, is a char 1. It's going to just be an M or an F. If you want something else, then that's okay. Well, let's do that. Ooh, we'll take care of that in a minute. So in gender and in name. So now we're going to do an if. So we're going to say if gender equals M, then select hello Mr. plus name. And let's see what that does. Oh, and then we're going to do an end if. Let's just do that right now. So this is going to be greeting. So we're going to do greeting. And we've got a name and a gender. Okay. So let's go back over here. And whoa. Okay. So took a little bit. It's basically had some sort of neat little surprise character or something like that. So let's get back to what we were working on here. Took me a minute to fix that. So I'm going to do select concat. Hello, Mr. And then I'm going to get it a flag. Name. So let's see if this works now. That should work. Okay, so it does. So now if I call greeting, and they're both ends, so the name is going to be Mr. Bob. Well, let's make it Jones. And we're going to make it an M. Oops. And so it's going to say, hello, Mr. Jones. If we give it something else, then it gets nothing because there is no else there. So let's take care of that. So let's say, and that would also been, if I'd said it was female, nope, nothing. So let's take care of the female case. So for that one, it's going to be hello, miss. And so now, oh, I need to replace it. Ah, dang it. I did that again. Ah, okay. Oh, why do you keep doing this to me? Okay. All right. Okay, let's do this. And let's see if this will run a little better. All right, we're going to change it. We're going to do AVI current.sql. And it's not going to be pretty, but it's going to work. Whoops. Let's get it to here. Okay. So it's current. Now let's see if we do this. Okay, so now let's call it. Let's go back to our call. Where was that call? Call. What a mess. So if we call it with an F, we get hello, Mrs. Jones. If we call it with an M, we get hello, Mr. Jones. If we call it with something else, say other, then we get Mrs. Jones still. It's not taking that into account. So what we can do instead, let me see if I can fix it this way. Instead of this, now what we're going to do is we're going to do a case. And a case statement looks like basically when, then, and there's an else at the end. So we can sort of make it simple. So we're going to say when flag equals that. When flag equals F, then that, and then we're going to do an else, and it's just going to say hello, just to make it simple. And now, if we take that and source it, and now we call it, if we do an O, it's just going to say hello Jones. If we do a female, it's going to say hello Mrs. If we do a male, it's going to be hello Mr. If we do lowercase, because it's going to be case sensitive. Oh, it's not. Good. If I do an X, then it's just going to go hello Jones. If I do empty, it's going to be hello Jones. If I do a null, it's going to tell me I need a parameter. So it's not too much different to do so we can do an if, and when to do a case, it's just going to be a series of whens, sort of like an if then else, but it's just going to be, if then that, or if then else if that you would normally see. And note with your case, let's go with something, you can't see this, but note that with a case, there's going to be an in case, and when you do an if, there is going to be an end if. So let me take that and copy that over here to make sure we've got it in our little list of things. And so there's a couple of ways for us to now get a little more fancy, basically, with our procedures, with our store procedures. We can use in variables, out variables, ins and outs, and now we've got some logic we can do between ifs and case statements. So we are slowly building on this thing, and we'll continue to do so in future episodes. That being said, I think it's time to wrap it up. Apologies for the confusion today. Some sort of cut and paste kicked my butt, but that happens sometimes. We all get bit sometimes by very odd little things. And that just leaves us to wrap it up. So go out there and have yourself a great day, a great week, and we will talk to you next time.